everyone, I'm Kim and welcome to my sewing room. This video is a little bit different because it's a continuation of a video. So basically I recorded one long video on my phone and I tried to upload it to YouTube, but my phone was having none of it and it would not upload, so I've had to split the video in two. So this is the second part. So if you haven't seen the first part, I'll put a link in the description, so go and find it, go and watch that, and then come back and watch this part, because this takes you into the last part of the Simplicity S8601 sew along. So it's a top where we are pattern matching the seams, so I'm showing you how to align that fabric and stitch the seams. So we're nearly at the end and I'm very excited to show you the top, but when you get to the end of the video, I haven't put the top on because I pulled something in my shoulder because I'm getting old and it really hurts and I can't lift my arm very well, so I've been able to put the top on, but it did give me an opportunity to show you this top up close because I can bring it up close to the camera and show you all of the lovely pattern match seams and all of the other detail in the top. But you will get to see this top at some point as we go into this lovely summery weather that we're starting to get, so you will see it at some point. So I do apologize for not putting it on because I do like to show you what it looks like on, but I'll stop waffling now so that you can carry on with the sew along, and I'm hoping that it has really inspired you to have a go at doing this pattern matching technique yourself. So enjoy, and I will see you at the other end. Right, so moving swiftly onto the sleeves. This is the left sleeve and it's two parts, and we are going to pattern match this centre seam. Now, in preparation, what I've done is I've overlocked down that centre seam all the way through down to the end of the tie, and I've also overlocked at the bottom right through to the end of the tie. And as well as that, so I pressed it, and then after pressing it I have gone back and put these notches in with an erasable pen because I don't want to clip into this fabric because it is actually fraying like mad. So I put the appropriate notches in where they belong. So I've got one notch there and I have got a double notch mark in here. Now the sleeve, the center part of this sleeve goes straight from the tailor's tack, and it goes straight, and then at the very top it slightly curves into the arm. So really you're not going to get a perfect pattern match at the top, but the main ones are really from the tailor's tack and this one that we want to sit in the middle of our arm. So like we did on the front and the back, we're just going to flip over our piece of fabric and we're going to press in the seam allowance. So we get our double-sided tape, and we're just going to really put the tape from the tailor's tack all the way up, right on the edge of that fold. Now this double-sided tape seems to be a little bit tackier than normal, and I think it's because I've just got, this is a new one out of my drawer. Right, so once that's on, just pull the protective tape off, then flip it over, and we're going to start pattern matching this head here. So we're going to move it across to Frida's face. Perfect. So now that's set in, I've got my beautiful crease line here, so I am going to use that to stitch down and to get that perfect pattern match, but I'm only going down as far as the tailor's tack. Right, so the sleeve has now been stitched down to the tailor's tack, so I'm just going to give it a quick press to set the stitches in, and then we're going to remove the tape and then press the sleeve again to open up that seam allowance. So that is our left sleeve pattern matched. Perfect. So the next step is to put gathering stitches into the sleeve cap. So I usually put 2 rows of the 5 length stitch from one notch to the other to join the side seam to the sleeve. So I am going to stitch down 5/8 of an inch, and then I'm also going to overlock. The sleeve seam has now been stitched, and we can concentrate on the ties. So the ties have to be neatened, so I'm going to work from the wrong side, and I'm just going to use my overlocking to guide me. Now, because this fabric is really slippery, I think the best thing is for me to baste all of this in. So really all I'm going to do is the center seam that comes down the arm splits into 2 ties, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start a little bit up into the arm and just fold over the overlocking and start to baste. Now I don't mind basting because sometimes when I do things and I think I can just do them freehand, it always goes terribly wrong, and then I end up having to unpick, and I really can't unpick this fabric because it is so sheer, and I don't want to damage it, so I'm just going to spend a bit of time just basting. So you can see all I've done is fold over the overlocked seam to the wrong side, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm just basting it through. So you can see from the right side it's looking like this. So when I'm doing this, I'm actually going to work all the way down to the tie, all the way around the bottom of the sleeve into the next tie, and then back up into the center seam of the sleeve. I just wanted to say the reason why I've overlocked this tie and all the way around the sleeve is because the fabric is so frayy that I've overlocked to stop the fabric fraying even more, and it just gives it more stability to work with. If it was cotton, then I would just fold it over and double fold and just carry on without overlocking. But I like to use the overlocking in a fabric that's quite fine because it just adds some stability. So I'm coming up to the end of the tie here, and I'm just literally going to take the end off. So I'm just going to give it a flat end because I don't want too much bulk in that point. So as I come into that point, I'm still basting. So this point is going to be folded over again. So we're just going to go around once and then we're going to go around a second time. So I'm just going to carry on like that until I come back to the start. We're coming back into the centre seam of the sleeve. So I'm just going to baste up a little bit further. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically do exactly the same again. I'm just going to fold over that seam again. And like you did before, you just work all the way around again and then just come back to where you finished. So as you can see, I have basted all around the sleeve. So it's been turned over twice. I've given it a really good press to flatten the seam down, and now I'm just going to go around and stitch very close to the edge to finish off the sleeve ties. So here's our sleeve all beautifully stitched down and finished off, so it all runs into the tie. Lovely. So that is finished. So you just do exactly the same on the other sleeve. Now my next step would be to insert the sleeve into the top, but I have decided instead of doing that, I'm going to just come back to the main bodice of the top, because this step is just exactly the same as what we did on the sleeve. So I'm just going to fold over the hem. So I go to my center seam at the front, I fold over my overlocking. I'm going to baste all the way around, and once it's been basted once, I will then fold over that overlocking again and then baste a second time. And once that's been double folded over, I will stitch and finish that off, and that will go all the way around the front section, which comes down into these two ties that split in the front. So you can see there, it will come down there and it will go all the way around the top, and that will finish the hem. Right, so that's the front of our bodice finished now. So it's all been hemmed and I've given it a good press, and you can see it's all beautifully stitched down. So now we can concentrate on the sleeves and get them inset. Right, so we've got our sleeve. I've turned it right side out. So I am just going to put right sides together and just temporarily hold that seam in place, and then just bring it through. Right, okay. So the side seam and the sleeve seam, I'm just going to pin those. You can see it's fraying already, so I want to try and move through this quite quickly. Then the center seam of the sleeve is pinned to the shoulder seam. So once they're all in place, what I do is I'm going to just pull the gathering stitches and then fit them in between all of those pins. So when I pull the gathering stitches, I literally pull them right up into the middle of the sleeve, so then I can release them for the sleeve to then sit into the bodice. So I can see that's way too gathered. So that's one side, and then you just pull the gathers on the other side of the sleeve. And then between the pins, just loosen up. Just loosen up so it fits nicely. So I'm just pulling some of those gathers out flat. So I've got this pin here and this pin here. I just need to loosen up that gathering so that when that's the area stretched, it fits in nicely. Right, so once everything's in and you're happy with how it's all spaced out, then you do your 5/8 of an inch and stitch it in, and then you can overlock it. Right, so the sleeve is in and actually is nicely pressed, and I've got a really nice match there on the cross between the centre seam on the sleeve and the shoulder, and yeah, I'm really pleased with that. So the last thing we need to do is to go back and put our little popper in. So what I've decided to do is to actually put the tab at the back so that that is hidden. And unfortunately I have only got silver poppers, but I don't think that will matter too much. So I need to put a little hole in one side. Let's have a look. So this one needs to go on this side, put it on this cardboard, and then put my first hole in. Right, so where that hole is, I'm just going to lay that flat and use that hole to mark on my tab. So that will go there. Lovely. So I get my hole punch again. Okay. Right, so now I've got my holes in. I just need to get my green machine across and pop these in. I do have a video on how to use a green machine. So that one I want to sit on the front like that. So then I just rest it in the recess of the die. And press down. That's that done. And then the other one is change the dies out. That post through the hole. Right. So that is going to make it really nice and secure. So I know that won't come undone whilst I'm wearing my top. Lovely. Right, I've done it. She's finished and I'm so pleased with her. She is beautifully pattern matched, so it all came together really well. So all of that laying out of our pattern pieces on our fabric, where it takes time, when you do that, it is really worth it, because you do get that elevated garment that I was talking about. So here you can see she is beautifully pattern matched in the front. The back seam is also pattern matched, so the fabric, it just flows beautifully. The two-piece sleeve, where we wanted Frida's face to sit in the middle of our arm, has also been pattern matched. And you can, if you look very carefully, see that the alignment of Frida's face here also aligns to her sleeve. So it is, and not that anybody would notice, but it was just so nice to do all of that, and it all just flows beautifully. And these this lovely detail on the sleeves where they are tied. The front piece where it has these two, they're two ties really, but I decided I like mine to lay flat, so I moved the tailor's tack down so that it wouldn't show my belly off. But if you wanted to make this top and have the ties, you would have to leave it where it originally was so that you could tie it up properly, so it really tied around your waist. So yeah, I'm chuffed to bits. And also the popper that I used to secure the back, and the lovely Sarah Hart label that I put on the facing. So she's a success, and I will put her in the wardrobe. And even though it's really warm today, it's still a little bit chilly, but I know it won't be long before I can start wearing her. So these two videos where I have done the pattern placement and this sew along have been quite long videos. And whilst I've been doing those, I've also been doing other little bits and bobs in my sewing room, which I would really like to show you, because they're sort of, the pile is building up. So I want to show you that. So I will share all of that with you over the next couple of weeks. And then probably in May I will pick up the pattern matching series again. I hope you have really enjoyed the content of the start of this pattern matching series, and if you have, give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, it would be lovely if you could. But until then, I will see you all very soon. Take care. Bye.